Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrisanthon, and joining me today is a friend of mine, Tag Gilkeson. Tag is the founder and CEO of Tag and Associates LLC. So welcome to the show, Tag. I
Thank you.
am excited to talk about our upcoming trip to the International Builder Show 2024.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I enjoy watching you and how you've developed over the years. So I'm excited to be on here.
Thank you. So why don't we start things off per usual with a little introduction to our listeners. Tell us who you are and what you do and how did
Sure.
you get here?
Yeah. So I've gotten this industry really as a realtor back in '98. And so I did investment only real estate. So I didn't do homeowners or owner occupied. I'd find houses that needed a whole bunch of work and then I'd send out my deal of the week. So this is how much it's going to cost. This is what it'll take to rehab. This is how much you can sell it for. And then this is how much you can make your profit. I found a house that the investor stood to make over $250,000 on. The problem was the seller was a hoarder. And so you had to go down sideways down the hallway. It was really bad. He'd taken down a wall and converted 2 bedrooms into a photo studio, and it was super creepy. You didn't know what he was photographing. It was really bad. And so I must have walked 10 or 12 investors through that house, and nobody could see what I saw. I could just see it. It was like, just blow the wall out here, enlarge the kitchen, have a good island, this, that. No one saw. Finally got an investor under contract, got him all the way up to the closing table, and then he backed out. And so I called the lender up. I said, hey, switch everything over to my name and I'll take it down on Monday. So on Friday, I was a realtor. And then on Monday, I was a custom home builder. I had no business being in business as a custom home builder. That was the stupidest thing that I ever did. I would spend 10 to 12 hours swinging a hammer. And then I would go home and I would Google what to do next. Okay, now the walls are up. Now what? That's how I learned. Fast forward to 2007, 8, and 9, the economy really just put me out of business. I just couldn't sustain it. And I was always taught that if you can't get work, you get an education. So that's what I did. I went back to school, got a degree in drafting design. I got a degree in construction management. And so from there, I really started drawing on the side and looking for work as a construction manager. But the drawings took off, and I started that in 2009. And then in 2018, I hired my first guy, and then we hired more and more. And at our peak, we were at 23 people drawing, and we'll draw over 150 houses a year. Our custom homes range from 2,000 square feet all the way up to my largest one's been 35,000 square feet. Yeah, really huge. We do something different. We draw in 3D, so it helps everyone visualize it, see it, and understand. And then we actually utilize virtual reality, which is really cool. People can put goggles on, or we can even do a link, and you can do it on Zoom, and they can actually walk through their house. They can see their house and exactly what it's going to be like. So it's really pretty cool.
That is awesome. I think there's definitely one of the biggest obstacle for people. Like you said, they just can't see it. So it's amazing that you took a pain point and turned it into a business. Tag, you mentioned that you went back to school to get education, you figured that was the way to go. And now obviously you give back with education. You're heading to Vegas on Friday, a little bit earlier, for some of the pre-show education. So let's talk about what goes on, because many attendees may be not even familiar that there's a whole other show happening before the show.
So much more. Yeah, it's crazy. So on Sunday and Monday, they're going to have all day education. So from 8 or 9 in the morning all the way up to 5 in the evening. And it's not just me that's teaching. There's a slew of instructors, like 6 or 7. So they're going to have 6 or 7 classes going on at the same time all day Sunday and all day Monday. And so you can fly in an extra day and you can get that education. And it's not something that you're taking away in the middle of the week and then you've already planned to go to Vegas. It's one of those things where you can just add on another day and then be able to do it. I'm teaching land development 1 and 2. So site planning, approvals, design, government agencies, financing, finding, locating, all that kind of stuff for land development.
Very exciting. So I've never attended pre-education shows, but if you guys are going to be there early, it's not just the casinos and the partying. Make sure you get your education in before the show. So definitely check that out. Okay, so then once we're done with pre-education, we do roll into some committee meetings, right? So you've
Yeah.
been involved with NAHB for how long now?
Since 2014 is really when I started at an HBA, Dallas Builders Association, and I started locally just like everybody else does, right? It was like, oh, let's do the education, right? And so I started doing the education committee there locally. That's how all of us start. And then in 2018, I started to take classes for myself. I started gaining designations, right? And if you
Yes, speaking of designations, this guy has probably a whole alphabet behind his name, is what you got.
Yeah, so I'm one of those guys that just go over the top. I took 25 classes in 1 year. So the NHB classes that the people are coming in on Sunday and Monday to take, I took 25 of them in the same year. So we traveled all over the United States, and I got 12 out of the 13 designations that NHB offers. So it's really pretty cool. And then the second that I got all 25 classes, all the designations, they patted me on the back and said, "Hey, that's great. Can you teach?" And so that's how I got into teaching as well. But I really went to NHB to lobby for the designations. They were starting to take them away, and they were going to remove them and prevent people from obtaining them. And I'm not sure what state law is where you're at, but in Texas, it's Texas is an unlicensed state. So the only thing that you need to become a builder in the state of Texas is a business card. That's it. There is no regulatory anything, right? So
Right.
how do I separate myself from everybody else? And
What
that's what
about, so to be like a G, you don't have to be like a GM,
no GC, no regulatory. Now there is licensing for plumbers, electricians, and HVAC guys.
right?
There isn't
Thank God.
anybody. Yeah, thank God. There isn't anybody for concrete. That's a big deal, right?
Hey,
Nothing.
just mix up some sand and good to go.
Right.
I can
Who
do
cares
it.
what the mix is, right?
The
That's
boys can do it.
we have a lot of storms here in Texas, and so they come in, and then what we end up having is that we have what they call chucks in a truck, and so the chucks in a truck roll in, and they take a bunch of people's money to do the work, and then they just disappear, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
I felt like it was my duty. I had all these designations. I wanted to fight for them. I wanted to keep them, and so that's when I got involved really heavily with national and really lobbying on behalf of other states. There's 27 states that are not licensed that need these designations, that the consumer needs some sort of protection, that there's not going to be somebody that's going to steal their money.
Yeah.
How do I make myself different from those people? So that's really when I started getting into NHB and going to the meetings. And then you go to them. It's, hey, if you like this one, go to this one. If you like, hey, can you be part of this committee? What about this committee? And then this one, what about this one? And then it just grew. It went from attending one or two committees to attending 10 or 15 committees. And then it went from that to being a delegate for my local HBA. And then from there, and the delegate got me into a leadership council, and that was valuable, right? It allowed me to get information before everybody else did. And then I started branching out and being part of other HBAs. So I'm part of BIA Hawaii, and then the Building Industry Association of Hawaii. And BIA Hawaii asked me to be their state rep. And so now, even though I live in Texas, I'm the state rep of Hawaii. And what that does is it's opened up doors to allow me to go to the leadership council, but not only that, also the board of directors. So now I have a voice on the board of directors.
Very cool. For some of our listeners, they may not be familiar with the whole NAHB organization on the national level. A lot of people get started being involved in a local level and the state level, but then not necessarily know about all this that goes on. So you mentioned a couple of things. So you mentioned your HBA delegate. So what is that? Just
Yeah, so what a delegate is that so based on the quantity or the number of builders and remodelers and associates that each one of the home builders has, NHB allows them to put forth a representative, and that representative is called a delegate. Okay, so if I have a very large HBA, Dallas has 1,200 members, they're able to put up 4 or 5 or 6 delegates plus alternates. And so they already knew I was going there to fight for my designations. So they were like, hey, go to the leadership council and fight for us for lobbying for impact fees or the waters of the US, all of these things that no one's talking about. And so I'm like, all right, fine. So I'll go to the leadership council. And it gave me a voice. That's what a delegate does, is it just gives me a voice for all the people that are not available to come to the table.
and then I assume that state representative is a similar role, but a little bit on the bigger scale.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It allows you into the board of directors, and the board of directors is about 110 people. So now I'm into an ultra exclusive club, if you will, that have a much louder voice, and I can really start to determine the way that our organization, our federation, NHB starts to move and goes towards, right? Bylaw changes, all that thing goes through the board of directors. So it's really pretty
So
cool.
not to put you on the spot here, but
Okay, go ahead.
can you share maybe one or two top issues that you're working on right now that's important for you and that is important for the Federation?
Yeah, I think Waters of the US is probably one of the bigger ones. Okay. If you don't know, Waters of the US says that basically the government came in and said it's government overreach, right? Is that if you have a navigable water on your land, then you have to protect that. And you're like, okay, cool. I understand. I respect that. Okay. So if you have a swamp, right, and it's not usable for anything, but that water somehow filters to a river, and then that river filters to another river or a bigger river, and then that river eventually goes to the ocean. That swamp is considered navigable waters and you have to protect it. I'm okay with that. Okay, here's the problem that I really have. Let's say that I'm a developer and I own a very large piece of land, and I have in the spring, I get some rain and I have a stream that appears only in May because I only get 10 inches of rain. That stream then runs into a bigger stream that runs into a river that eventually runs into the ocean. Now my seasonal stream that's through the middle of my development is considered navigable waters. Can you imagine doing a boat in a 10 inches of rain a year? And so what that says is that on both sides of that stream that only appears one time of the year, I have to allocate 100 feet on one side and 100 feet on the other. I've just taken this massive 200-foot swatch out of the middle of your development, all because it's considered navigable waters. That's huge.
So it's not just about polluting the waters, preventing pollution, but it's also this additional stuff. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so I'd love to know about some of the meetings that are you going to be attending. So what's on the agenda for your week?
Yeah.
Share.
A lot of times we get voluntold, meaning that you show up and then if you show up late, they've already volunteered you for things that you don't know about. I got voluntold for the resolution committee, so that's going to be new for me. I always attend the education committee because education is my big passion. It's the reason why I get involved. That's the reason why I keep coming back, to be honest with you. YP, the young professional. I think the young professionals committee meeting is one of those things that it's our future for sure, 100%, right? You can't discount that it's not the future. It is, right? I think that a lot of people are out of touch with it, meaning, and I always hear David, I love David. David always complains about it. So if you want to know what the YPs are wanting or thinking, then ask us. No one asks them, right? I like going because I get to listen and I get to hear what the topics are that are important to you guys. I'm going to go to, I have a custom home builder one that I go to. Obviously, I'll do the state rep. Because I really help out Hawaii, and it's really difficult for Hawaii to fly in all the time, then I like to attend a lot of the EO forums, the small and large, medium-sized forums. I also try to do as many of the professional developments or committee meetings that I can with that. So like the remodelers might have a remodeler professional development committee, right? It's not the remodelers council, it's the professional development side. Same thing with multifamily, same thing with 55 plus. So I try to attend as many of those as I can.
Very cool. Yeah, so I'm going to be attending a few as well. And obviously the YP is the one that I attend since I'm on the committee. So that's going to be on Monday evening at 4:30. So if you guys are going to be around, pop in, check it out. And then I try to attend sales and marketing just because obviously that's what
Your
I
business.
do.
Yep.
And I also attended communications committee last time and I really enjoyed that. So I think that's one I'd like to get involved with this year as
Can
well.
you
So
explain what communications is? It membership or not membership? I've never.
it's basically all the things that NAHB is doing with their communication. So whether it's the website or PR, so it's all to the public
Okay.
and what's being done. And last time we were in DC, I guess it was, they talked about introducing AI to help distribute certain messages for the membership. They know that people enjoy watching videos as opposed to just reading on the website. So one of the things they were talking about is, oh, could we create these videos with AI avatar essentially delivering those messages? So would it be a better forum to address that?
And they did do that.
Right.
Yeah, Hawaii actually took advantage of it and did a couple of messages for Maui and the fires and everything else through the AI that offers through NHB. So that's awesome. And you were saying what else?
So I was just saying that obviously that is very similar to what I do in my role day
Yeah.
to day is communication. So I'd love to be more involved on that side. So I think that's the one I'm definitely going to check out too. So. All right. So after that, we roll into the actual education. So the show starts on Tuesday. Do you go to the opener of the show?
I do, absolutely. Yeah, I always do the opening ceremony. I love that. I think it really sets things off. I don't know. Last year was Mike Rowe. Gosh, I don't know if you got to see him. He was absolutely dynamic in front of the room. It was really great to listen to. Very powerful. Before that was Magic Johnson. How cool is that? Magic was supposed to teach or talk a couple years before. We had COVID going on. It was not a good deal. I was excited to see him for 2 or 3 years. And it's always been one of those things that's just been really cool to watch. They go all out. There's pyrotechnics. It's really such a cool show. And it's just like lighting the Olympic torch right before you start the Olympics. That's the way that I feel about the opening ceremony. I really do. So
That's
yeah,
funny.
super cool.
So I've actually never attended an opening
Oh,
ceremony, I don't think so. I think this year I'm gonna put it on my list and try to make it.
yeah.
So yeah, that should be fun. And then one of my sessions that I'm teaching is actually on day one in the morning. So I'm excited for that because I feel like normally I'm always on the last day and then you spend the entire time, the entire show can't see, worried about it. And I can't really relax fully and party and all that good stuff. So this time it's okay. I have my session. It's on Tuesday. So for those of you who are going to be attending, be sure to check it out. My session is going to be at 10:15 a.m. on Tuesday. And I'm going to be presenting with Kimberly Mackey and Keith McKinney. And our session is called You Bought the Tech. Now, how do you get your sales teams to use it? So that should be good. Obviously, Kimberly works with a lot of builders in her day-to-day with helping them implement systems and processes. And Keith McKinney is with New Home Star, which is one of the largest builders, because that's essentially what they do is they provide sales and marketing for home builders around the country. We're going to talk about why technology is so important in the first place. I think one of the things that people have been like, it's whatever, right? It's important. But now with AI, it's coming really quickly, and the way consumers are shopping, it's going to be all AI influenced. And if you don't realize that and get on the bandwagon, it may be too late. So we're going to talk about why it's important, where things are going, and then some of the best practices for getting your team on board and making sure that when they're walking, when you're spending all that time walking around the show floor and you see all the cool tech and you get excited and you spend all this money on it, that it actually does what it's supposed to do, and you're not just, it's like I spend the money, but nobody's actually using it. So
and it's going to be a panel, right? You're going to do a panel discussion?
Yes. So we have our slides. So it's going to be organized chaos, as I like to call it.
All right, gotcha. All right.
Jump in and present our point of view and share really our strengths on that topic. Of course, mine being technology, because I work for a technology company and that's always been a passion of mine. And so I've always used technology in my days of selling real estate, new construction. And so I'm a big proponent of making sure you get the right tech and that you use it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really heavily into tech as well. I love it. I think that's where we're all headed. So why not be ahead of that than be the one that's getting dragged behind, forcing, and everything else like that? To me, that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, especially now, I think with some of the developments in AI, it's interesting to see because home building may actually be leading the rest of the industry. So we'll see. We're working on some of the really cool stuff here at Inugo, and
so exciting.
Me actually be leading the industry for the first time as opposed
So
to the
cool.
other way around. So
cool.
yeah.
So cool. Awesome.
So Speaking of AI, our very own CEO, John Lee, is going to be presenting a session as well on AI. It's called How AI is Revolutionizing New Home Sales and Marketing. And that's also going to be a panel with several AI thought leaders in home
Nice.
building industry. So that's going to be exciting. If you guys are going to be around, make sure to check it out. It's on Wednesday at 12:15. Our very own Sarah Williams, Director of Sales here at Inugo, is going to be presenting a session as well. She's also going to be on the panel, which is called Flywheels and Funnels, Top Data and Business Intelligence Tools to Engage Buyers Start to Finish. So that should be a heavy session filled with really great advice. And Sarah is going to be presenting on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. So be sure to check that out. And then we're going to round it out by additional AI session that John Lee is going to be doing specifically for the YPs. So it's going to
Oh,
be
that's
at
cool.
the NAHB headquarters in the booth where we have it set up. And that's going to be a glimpse into the AI future for home builders. And that's also on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Take your pick. Make sure that you download the IBS 2024 app in the App Store so that you can add those sessions to your schedule so that you don't miss anything. Because if you don't, you have every intention of doing and going, and then next thing you know.
Yeah. And I agree. I was talking to someone earlier today. I'm like, listen, go through the app and download every single one. Just add to your agenda, everything. Like, I don't care if they overlap. I don't. Just add everything that you want to go to the app. And then when you're out of a session, you're able to look at it and say, okay, I have these four to choose from. I just went to finance, so let's not do that one because I've just done finance. Let's go to this one. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you inevitably look at it. Oh, I have a free hour. And then you go to the show floor, and the show floor is not an hour, it's
Right.
5. And then you're like, crap, I missed this one and this one. And then your day just gets away from you. So I couldn't agree with you more. I've already downloaded it. I've already started adding things to my agenda.
You better
And
add my session to
it
it. So
is, it's in there. Yeah, I have it. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So speaking of the show floor, do you have any advice for somebody who maybe has never been, or is there any best practices that you like to implement when it comes to the show
Yeah,
floor?
I do actually. I did a post on LinkedIn recently about my top 10, right? For me, it's I never ever fly out on Thursday night, like ever. Like
Why? I always fly it on Thursday.
I get it. That's fine. So we're gonna have about 80,000 people that are gonna come in, and all of them are gonna come in from different areas and come into Vegas. They're gonna be there at different times, and some people like me come in early. Some people go in for education, but on Thursday night, everybody and expo people and vendors, everyone flies out on Thursday nights. Please, it was just chaos the first time that I did it. And I was like, oh, I'll never do it again. So I always fly out either Friday or Saturday. You need to plan your lunches accordingly. Okay. If you know exactly what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah, the line can be crazy.
So what I end up doing is that if I never pass food up, that's my policy. If
Oh, right.
there's food
Yeah.
there and there's no line, you get in line. I don't
Yeah.
care if you're hungry or not hungry, just eat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when
And then
lunch
a
comes,
good way to get food is I'd hang out at Sales Central, but there's Custom Central, there's a bunch of different centrals where they usually have lunch and breakfast.
yep,
So you can mingle with people, network, and then get your food in. And then also they have educational sessions
yep.
typically running at the same time.
Agreed. Another thing is arrive early, right? Arrive early to the sessions that you want to take. I can't tell you how many years in the past. There's something new this year that I got to tell you about. But in years past, when they would reach capacity, they'd shut the door. Bam, that's it. That one class that you really wanted to take, that's the one that you're looking forward to, and everyone else wants to. A good popular one is 60 designs in 60 minutes.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That thing closes out instantly. You're like, crap, I really wanted to see it. I'll stand in the back. Nope, sorry, we've reached capacity. And they just kick you out. This year, they're doing something different with IBS, and they've never done it in the past. They're having more encore presentations. So they're having people, so those ones that get full, they'll ask the speaker to come back and later during the week and teach again. So awesome. Wear comfortable shoes. That's
Yes.
another one of my
Thank
tips.
you. Guys too, because guys, even if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna bring this new pair of sneakers that I have never worn, I bought for this. No, break them in first.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I do dress shoes. Last year, I think I walked 48 miles in the 7 days. It was crazy.
48 miles?
Again, I was there for an entire week.
That sounds a
Right.
little,
If you start doing it, it's not that much. It's
yeah,
7 miles a day, right?
I guess so.
So it was intense. The next one's download the app. You've already talked about that. I have another one that says definitely decide what you must see and then what you would like to see. You need to prioritize that. And then really the last one is study the map. I can't tell you how beneficial that is. There's nothing worse than you spending 30 minutes to go to the West Hall, only to find out that your education class was really in the South Hall. And
Yes. And I would say also make sure that when you are adding the classes to your schedule, like pay attention to that. So if you're gonna be in West, just stay in the West for a while and hit up those classes, because by the time you go to the South, the class is over, and then you walk back to the West, that class is over. So it's just, stay where you are, and then maybe in the afternoon switch the location, because
yeah,
otherwise it's
yeah.
gonna be miserable.
Hit the vendor, hit the expos, everybody else that would be in the West Hall for that day, right? And you plan it accordingly. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And this is where just pre-show preparation comes into play, and to really know and understand what's going on. It's overwhelming. Here's the deal. I got one more tip, right? This is a bonus tip. The bonus tip is for first-time attendees. Okay. Do not think that you can see the entire show this time. It's not going to happen. You're never, ever. I've been doing it for 10 years and I don't know that I see all the show myself, right? As a
Never.
first time attendee, it's going to be so overwhelming. You're going to be debilitated on how much there is to do. Focus on one of the things that you want to do. And then if you can add things that you'd like to do in there, great. Otherwise, just focus on the things that you say that you must do. I must take this class. I must take the one on technology and AI. I must take this. I must take this. I must take that. I want to go to that. And the after parties and things like that, I tell people like, oh my gosh, it's IBS and you're going to have so much fun. No, the IBS is actually, for me, is one of the hardest working weeks that I do all year round. I'm
Yes.
basically up at 5 a.m. and I'm lucky if I get in at 1 a.m., right? It for 5 to 6 straight days.
Yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It is nonstop and you go. So I was actually fortunate to be one of the best of IBS judges this year.
Oh, nice.
So my category was software. So I'm really excited to be on the show floor and actually interview for the final
Yeah.
round, the finalists. I'm going to be spending a little bit of time one-on-one with each of the finalists. So we have Diggs, we have InSearch, JobThread, Permit Flow, Trace Air, and Vesta 360. So I'm going to be spending a little bit of time with each of the finalists in their booths, asking them some additional
Yeah.
questions, really learning about their product so we can determine the finalists. And I think they're going to announce the final on Thursday, I believe. Why don't we talk about some of our favorite events to wrap it up?
Yeah, yeah. Man, Wednesday is going to be a tough day, I got to tell you, Anya. It's
Wednesday? What's Wednesday?
Wednesday. I have 5 events after the IBS show. That's the 28th. I have Steel and Sliders, which is basically a meet and greet for FrameCAD. Builders First Source is having one a get together at Dre's nightclub. You have a Star Spangled Banner, a Star Spangled Builder get together. The YP Professionals is that night as well. And then you also have the KBiz Bash. And I want to say there's also the house party all on Wednesday.
That's going to be a busy day for you. I think I'm going to be at the Star Spangled Builder
Yeah.
party
Yep.
that day. And then I think our North Carolina HBA is having a little get together for North Carolina people. So even though I live in Pennsylvania, my company's North Carolina, so I'm going to be hanging out with them, spending a little bit of time. My friend Roland Nancy, he's the trainer. He's having a little bit of a little bash happy hour on Wednesday as well. So yeah, I have 3 events that day, but I think every single day I have at least 2. So
Yeah.
Monday night, I think we're rolling straight from the YP committee
Yeah.
to YP awards, followed by a little builder happy hour, and then going to the Gold Key event. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with Gold Key, if you are contributing to an NAHB build pack, that is an event they throw. So it's definitely always a great time to check that out. If you want to learn more about that, visit the build pack page on NAHB to learn more about that and how your money is helping the Federation. And then Tuesday night is the Nationals. That's where we celebrate the best of new home sales and marketing. And so I'm excited to get all dressed up and have a glamorous black tie event. And it's always a great opportunity to see everybody at one event and on their best behavior until, until
yeah. It's nice to be recognized for what you do all year round. And it's even more, it's nice to know that you're recognized in front of your peers. Okay. So I can't underestimate awards, ceremonies, and things like that. So beneficial. It's what drives some people. And that's the only thing. That's the reason why they work all year to be able to go to something like that and to get that recognition. A lot of salespeople are just like that. It's really amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of times it's not the money, it's the recognition for lots of us. So yeah, I'm excited. It's always great to see some of the rookies coming up and see who are going to be the future leaders of this organization. I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up,
Sure.
unless there's any other events that you're.
No, I just want to say IBS is going to have, it's so much bigger than it's ever been in the past. So this is the biggest show in 15 years. This is also the 80th year of having the IBS show and the 60th year of having the KBIS show because we co-date, right? And then you're going to have 45% new exhibitors on the show floor. 45.
I can't even imagine because I remember last time we were in Vegas how big it was, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is insane. I can't even imagine. But yeah, I think they opened that whole new wing, right? Wasn't there a whole new section that they opened for us last time? And so it looks like it's going to be pretty filled up now. So, and then one thing I will recommend is make sure when you're walking the show floor too is pop into the bookstore, the NAHB bookstore. So that's always a great spot to see some of your favorite friend authors. So I'll be looking out for some of my favorites there. I think on that note, make sure you're drinking plenty of water. Maybe double down on those liquid IVs. Yep. I'm packing up some, what is it, charcoal pills to make sure I am detoxifying myself every night after, I'm sure, a few cocktails. So yeah, it should be a great show and great time. And again, if you're going to be around, make sure you reach out, say hello, and we can't wait to see you there. And Tag, thanks so much for being my co-host today. Yeah. And I will see you at the show.
See you at the show.